Let's talk.
Giles Brown.
The rowing marine crossing the Atlantic is one of those stories. In my job, I get to interview lots of extraordinary people. And just when I thought I've, either hit the limit of endurance or silliness or impossibility, then something lands on my desk and goes, there you are, Giles. Tomaya, take that, because this is the story of Lee Spencer. And if you think you're having a hard day and you can't carry on, well, I think the next 20 minutes or so will put you right. Lee, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm very well. And how's your dear self?
I'm very well, thank you, yeah.
Right.
I'm actually joining you from the Tower, London, believe it or not.
What have you done?
They haven't locked me up. My good friend Andy's a beefeater, so I'm staying with him for last night.
Yeah, hang on. Just dial that back. So there's two things here, right? One, your mate's a beefeater. How do you become a beefeater then? Do you just does he have to wear the clothes like when he's not seen by the public?
Well, yeah, he's a full-on beefeater, or yeoman warder of the guard, as they're officially known. You do a 22-year career, have a long service good conduct medal, and reach the rank of warrant officer second class, and then you apply. So
the next question is: Are they actually live in the Tower? I mean, there are little cottages, are there sort of yeoman's houses? Presumably, that's a bit the public can't come. He's not making himself a cup of tea, and there's Americans pointing their lenses in, going, "Gee, look at that! Is he like does he know the Queen of Hearts?
It does get asked lots of stupid questions by Americans. One of them, I believe, is why did they build the Tower in a flight path? Because a plane went over the head. I think that's one of Andy's favourites, and he's nodding next to me. That's genuinely
yeah. How does he deal with the French? Forget the Americans. How does he deal with the French? I mean, do actually any French come to this? Because they shouldn't be allowed anywhere near it, or they should be pointed to Tower Hill for a start.
He's saying he doesn't let them in.
Marvellous. Right, we've set the timbre then, as the cheese-eating Sirens and Monkeys would say. Right, so tell me a little bit about your Royal Marines. What possessed you? What inspired you to get involved with to go after the famous beret? I mean, soldiering's always been in your blood, Navy's been in your blood. Explain to those who don't know the speciality, why you want to become a Royal Marine.
Yeah, I suppose I grew up in quite difficult circumstances. My dad was a violent alcoholic, and as a very, very young child, he used to beat my mum up, and she used to cry for me to come and help her. And obviously I froze with fear. I was petrified of my dad. And that made me feel like I was a coward. As a child, I couldn't rationalise what was happening. And I dreamed of not being a coward, dreamed of being someone brave, dreamed of being someone strong and tough, and someone who could stand up and protect their mother. And for me, growing up as a child and through my teenage years, the epitome of someone like that was a Royal Marines commando. So that's where that dream came from. I remember going, if your listeners can remember back when they took their options, we had a bit of a careers fair in my school in Dagenham, and we had a Royal Marine recruiting sergeant there, and I went straight up to him and said, I want to join the Marines. And he asked me, are you captain of the football team? I said, no. He said, are you in the football team? I wasn't, despite football being my sport, my game.
Yeah.
And he said, you're not what we're looking for. So at that point, any realistic chance I thought I had of being a Royal Marine was kind of dashed against the rocks, and it just became a dream. But that's the beauty of dreams. If you allow them, they sit there in the background chugging away.
Well, I think it's a bit harsh. Do you like in the football team? No, last time I looked, the Royal Marines. Last time they were shimming halfway, in full cam in the middle of the night. Last time I looked, they didn't have to get a football out and play keepy uppy at the same time. So that's a bit of a thing, isn't it?
I think it was back in 1983, so it was just after the Falklands War,
yeah.
And I think they had the pick of the choice of who they could want it to join, and they were going for the captains of the sports teams from each school.
Here's the thing, because Royal Marines tend to be sort of South Coast boys, don't they? They tend to be sort of the pool and you see, that's really going to shoot me down in flames here, because I'm thinking, Dagenham, I mean, next to a bit of water, but not perhaps you would have thought the place the Royal Marines would go, or is your like mine was Royal Marines, and I'm a little bit older than you, was basically sort of battle comic and the Air Force thing and putting a balaclava halfway up your head and going, I'm a Royal Marine.
Yeah, a bit like that, yeah. Unlike the rest of the British Army, I suppose, where each regiment recruits locally, the Royal Marines recruit are actually all over the world. They've served with South Africans, Australians, Kiwis, and dare I say, even Geordies. Actually, we've got a saying in the Corps that actually Geordies are the backbone of the Corps. There's lots of Geordies, people from all over. My two best friends in training, one was from Fort William and one was from the Isle of Arran.
Yeah, but the only reason for that is the fact that if they were to be taken, captive, nobody would understand the bleeding word they're saying, because, I mean, we have a hard enough time as it is.
There is that.
So you get in, you pass selection, which must have been, because, I mean, certain members of the royal family tried to get into selection and it didn't end very well for them. Selection is as tough as everybody says it is, because it's, short of, quote unquote, the regiment. It's one of the toughest ones, I think, in the military, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actual Royal Marines training is the longest and hardest basic military course in the world. So you're not just training a soldier, you're training a commando. So you do your basic soldiering training, and bolted on the end of that is the commando course. But because you've got the same instructors all the way through, it's that same level, that same standard all the way through. And I had a curious thing happen, because when I scraped a pass on the selection, where you used to go away for 4 days, 3 nights at Lympstone in Devon, where the Royal Marines do their training, and I scraped a pass. And when I got into training, I sort of done the maths. I knew only about a third would get through from my troop, and I was firmly in the bottom third physically. And I felt like I was clinging on by my fingernails, just staying in training. But as training sort of developed, I became more confident and started doing things I thought I wasn't capable of. And then there was a realisation that I didn't know what I was capable of. I thought I knew, but I didn't. I was capable of so much more. And I actually flourished in training. And towards the end, as much as you can, I enjoyed it, yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things that you say you don't know what you're capable. You don't know what the body's capable of as well, because your mind's saying, forget it, let's go home, it's nice and warm, let's have a cup of tea, and yet you keep going. It's the endurance thing, isn't it? It's the mind over matter. Your body will keep going.
100%. When you're absolutely done in and you cannot take another step, or you think you can't take another step, you're only about 40% in. You're not even halfway. You've got another 60%. That is so true. That is absolutely so true.
And did you know anything about, the things that go on water, boats coming from that particular part of the world? I mean, and was that a shock to the system when you start mucking around with sort of, I don't know, ribs or inflatables,
Although we're called Marines, we're part of the Royal Navy. We're actually soldiers first and foremost. And in training, you do some exercises with boats landing, on beaches and things like that. But actual, when jumping forward to my row, the first time I got in a rowing boat was to row across the Atlantic with a team of 3 other. There was 4 of us. We only had 3 legs between us, three other amputees, and that's the first time I'd ever been out in the ocean in a small craft or anything like that before. Never done anything. In fact, the most nautical thing I think I'd ever done is go across the Tor Point ferry in Plymouth drunk.
Yeah.
But
now because we talk about the 3 legs. I mean, you've gone. So you did the Second Iraq War. You're in Afghanistan as well. Was it 3 tours with as an agent handler, whatever? I mean, what's an agent handler, by the way? Because I don't know.
Well, Well, I volunteered for something called special duties, which is clear to make the distinction, not special forces. And it's there's a unit which the job kind of developed out of Northern Ireland, where you basically run agents to gain human intelligence in support of British forces on the ground. And it not really changed much beyond that, except doing it in Afghanistan. So I went out, volunteered, went through a selection and a course, and actually I was one of only three out probably about 120, 125 who started the selection process. To actually only three of us got through and eventually got the qualification. It's quite a specialist and niche job, and I absolutely loved it. Found my place in the world as well.
It's interesting because I mean, you've got the reasons going back because you wanted to stand up to your alcoholic dad, and I get that. But agent handling, that's because everything's Marine, look at me, action man, etc. But if you're handling agents, you've got to have people skills, and perhaps that was brought out as well because you became more, you learn how to deal with people on a level that perhaps you might have not been able to do before.
It's actually something Royal Marines are very, very good at. As well as, being Britain's commandos, we make up, it sort of hovers around 50% of all UK badged special forces are Royal Marines or come from a Royal Marines background, and yet we only make up 4% of the British military, 4 or 5% of the British military. So we punch way above our weight in terms of doing specialist jobs. But yeah, you are correct that the core skill is building rapport. But that's no different to, going out with your mates for, a drink. We all do it. It's a natural human skill.
One of the things that you kind of taught to be as well is because life tends to throw curveballs at you, and you've got to be able to sort of pick yourself up and dust yourself off. And reading through your story, so you've done, Afghanistan, Iraq, and we're talking about, the disability. Just talk us through the way that life went, okay, here you go, have this on a plate. What happened?
Yeah, I was, I finally got to a point where I could look in the mirror and be proud of the person I saw staring back. I mean, part of the job meant that we'd have to go out and work undercover in Afghanistan, which was, the most dangerous place on God's earth at the time. And you can imagine the competencies that you'd have to personally master to be able to do that. Well, that was me. And so I felt very confident in my own abilities, defined myself by what I could do physically. And then that got taken away with me. Taken away from me. So I stopped at an accident on the motorway on the M3. A car had crashed, and I pulled over to help the people out. And whilst I was helping them, another car crashed into theirs. And a BMW 5 Series engine came flying out, hit me, took my right leg off below the knee, completely dislocated my left leg. Obviously, if it was a 3 Series engine, I would have tensed up and it would have bounced off. But it was a bit. The 5 Series engine was a bit too big.
Yeah, but you had the presence of mind because the tourniquet didn't work, so you got the guy the passerby, and hats off to that guy as well to literally stand on your leg to. I mean, it just sounds appalling.
I very, very, very nearly died. I was as close to death as I think it is possible to be without actually going unconscious. And a Rastafarian from Hackney called Frank appeared from nowhere, and I said, I need a tourniquet now. And he whipped off his belt, wrapped around my leg, and tried to get it as tight as we could. But he couldn't get it tight enough to stop the bleeding. And Frank had his daughter Zanelli with him, adult daughter, and I got her to stand on my groin. You got a massive artery in your groin called the femoral artery, so she stood on that, put all her weight on it, and we waited for about half an hour for the ambulance to come. So Frank and Zanelli hadn't come up. come along, then I wouldn't be here now. And I dedicate the book to him because actually, if he hadn't been there, if he hadn't have stopped and came back to help me, not only, the book wouldn't be here because I wouldn't be here. So I owe Frank and Zanelli everything from that moment. Everything I get to see every Christmas, seeing my boy pass out as a Royal Marine, I've always conscious that, I can only enjoy this moment because of Frank and Zanelli.
You see, there are good, despite what people say, it's all everything's rubbish. There are brilliant people out there. Tell me about how you got yourself together then after that, because it would have been very easy to go, oh, woe is me, my life, etc. How did you sort of learn?
I think I was very lucky. Yeah. I think I was very lucky with circumstance because I woke up in a hospital bed without my leg, and I knew how close I can't reiterate enough how closely I came to dying. So when I woke up, my first thought was, oh, my leg's gone, but I'm here, I'm alive. And I like to think I'm quite a positive person, and maybe if I'd have been woken up out of a drowsy coma and not realised what had happened and someone told me, I'm really sorry, this has happened, you lost your leg, I'd like to think that it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. But from the very first moment I woke up in hospital, everything from that point onwards was a positive.
So when did this idea then, did you think, right, you've gone through the physio, painful as proverbial, you've managed to sort of sort yourself out in terms of physically. When does this idea first get mooted about the Atlantic and rowing? And was it sort of, I want to do something to give something back? What's the genesis of the idea, mate?
Well, I suppose really it goes back to my first Afghanistan, where I accidentally rescued a puppy. I didn't mean to. It was just a pure natural human instinct. It was stuck between two fences. And then I was like, oh, great, we've got a puppy. What are we going to do with this now? And a charity called Nazad Dogs brought it back and asked me if I would do some fundraising for them. And I did. Got into it, got the bug. Then I started raising money for other military charities, for the British Legion and the Royal Marines charity. And 6 months before I lost my leg, I ran a double marathon, so 52 miles over Dartmoor. And a group of us in the village where I live raised a lot of money for the Royal Marines charity for a injured Royal Marine who had broken his neck. So when I woke up in hospital, it was kind of a well-trod path, and doing stuff for charity gave me a focus. So I set myself a goal of raising £10,000 for the Royal Marines charity in my first year as an amputee. And coming towards the end of that year, I got an email asking for volunteers to put together the world's first all-amputee crew to row across the Atlantic. Now, my very, very first admission to Headley Call, where I started my rehabilitation. So I was still in a wheelchair, didn't have a prosthetic leg. I wheeled myself into, it's kind of set up like a hospital ward. And in the bed opposite me, there was this guy, he had no legs and a big, huge beard. So, beards tend to stand out in the military. So I asked him what's with the beard. And he said, I've just rowed across the Atlantic. And that's when I first realised that, perhaps an adventurous life wasn't necessarily over. That guy was called Cal Royce. He'd rowed across with 2 amputees and 2 able-bodied. So we talked and we became friends through admissions. So when I got the email asking for volunteers to put together the next row, which Cal would skipper, so they were looking for 3 more crew, and become the world's first physically disabled crew of 4 to row any ocean, I jumped at it, even though, as I said earlier, hadn't been in a rowing boat in my life. So I just thought, why not?
Explain the craft then. I mean, what are we talking about? How big? Because there's 4 of you. Presumably, it's a rowing boat, so there's not a lot of space to sort of, it's hardly a holiday cruise. So it's going to be up close and personal amongst you.
Yeah, very much up close and personal. We was living on top of each other, testing, teamwork to the absolute limit. I had a conversation with Ed Stroud, who walked with Ranulph Fiennes to the South Pole, and he said the only thing comparable to walking to the South Pole is rowing an ocean in terms of what it does physiologically to your body. So you're burning around 10,000 calories a day. I mean, a normal person in normal day life burns between 2 and 2,300 calories a day. You put an enormous strain on your body. Our bodies, 70% of the power generated when rowing comes from your legs, and we only had 3 legs between the 4 of us. And out of a fleet of about 30 odd boats, we came 7th, and we got across the Atlantic. Yeah.
So you're doing it as part of an event. Then you didn't just get a 4 and go right. Next stop, Manhattan.
It was from La Gomera, which is one of the Canary Islands, across to Antigua, part of what was then the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge. It's now called the world's toughest row. So we was participating in an event, a race, essentially.
What did the other crews make of you when you all popped up with your 3 legs?
I think it was a bit of an anomaly. Yeah, we made lots and lots of great friends. Lots of great friends. In fact, one of them, 2 Americans, beat us in by a day. Even though they had 4 legs between the 2 of them. And,
that's just cheating. That's just cheating, mate, isn't it? I mean, come on, you don't need more of that, you know?
I know, yeah. But anyone can row an ocean if you got the legs. When I decided, so when I got in, I said to my wife, I'm thinking about doing this solo. And then when I made the decision, right, I'm going to go for it. I've got to do it now or I'll never get the chance to do it. One of the Americans, it was his boat. He gave me his boat to use for free. That saved like tens of thousands of pounds and got the row firmly underway. Yeah.
Here's the thing. As a person with 2 legs, Lee, I've got to ask you this question because I know absolutely nothing about it. Okay, so I will. If you're at sea, do you have to? I mean, you've got your prosthetic leg on, or whatever they call it. Does it have to get special dressings? I mean, there was a problem with salt, the water, the whole thing like that. Was there any specific difficulty with that?
Absolutely. So I rationed myself 7 wet wipes for every 4 hours. I was rowing 2 on, 1 off during a day, and then 2 on, 2 off. This is on my solo row, and on the so. Every time you come off the oars and you get in the cabin, you've got to wipe the salt off because it crystallised on your body. And over time, in very little time, in fact, so just less than a week, you get those fine little crystals start cutting into your skin, and then you just start developing sores. And then, sitting on a rowing seat for 2 hours at a time with sores, then your life becomes a misery. So it's quite a disciplined existence. You have to do that and make sure you stay on top of not only maintaining the boat, but maintaining your own body as well, because you're the engine. You're going nowhere unless you row.
And here's another thing, because luckily, you'll cry for me, but I'm based in Marbella, so it's obviously it's hellish for me here. And if I was to stand on my desk, you can see the Mediterranean, which is a nice big blue thing, very flat out there. Pillars of Hercules, Gibraltar's literally half an hour down the road. Lots of people have been out and, sailing craft the whole thing, but they very rarely go out of land, and they definitely don't go deep ocean. And I've got friends who take the boats over from Mallorca to Antigua, and they say once you get out there, it's a different experience when you're in, the big ocean, when you're literally sort of 3 or 4 days off land, and you're just because a lot of people have never done that. They fly over it, but actually what was that like? I'm not saying you had a spiritual experience, but it's a bit of a mind thing, isn't it?
It was a spiritual experience. Parts of it it was everything that I was hoping it would be and more. It was horrific. It was frightening. It was amazing. It was mind-blowingly beautiful at times. And the encounters with the wildlife, I saw whales, sharks, turtles, dolphins. You are acutely aware that you're experiencing something that very few people get the chance to do. So you feel really privileged sometimes to be out there, and then other times you're absolutely petrified when you've got 30, 40-foot waves. So on the first row with the road to recovery with a crew of 4 amputees, we were actually hit halfway through with the strongest Atlantic hurricane in January for 61 years, Hurricane Alex. So being in a small rowing boat in the middle of a hurricane, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm just thinking capsize drill. I mean, if it goes over, I mean, you've all got 3 legs.
Yeah.
That must have been over the back of your mind.
Yeah. And on my solo row, I got picked up by a huge breaking wave that came from behind.
Oh.
And my oar got stuck in and smashed against my shin. And it started to turn the boat sideways as it was. I was rolling down. You got like a little speedometer at the end of the boat, and I've done 15.7 knots down this wave. Give you an idea of its size. I mean, that's sort of speed a speedboat goes at. That's how big that wave was. And as it was turning, I was thinking, in a minute, this is just going to go over, and I'm going to be tossed like you're attached to the boat all the time.
Sure.
And this is happened in the millisecond. I'm thinking I'm going to have to make a decision between oxygen and cutting away from the boat, because you've got like a tiny little knife on your life jacket for emergencies. But luckily, as I was trying to free the oar that had stuck in the water and was turning me, I got that free, but the other oar got stuck as well. But that one smashed against me prosthetic leg, so it didn't hurt as much, and that kind of turned me back the other way. So it was like two accidents, one of them a happy one that corrected, so I didn't actually roll. And the boat itself is designed to right itself. But there's been many ocean rows that have ended in a breaking wave that's rolled the boat and washed everything off the deck. The waves are so powerful, and the boat is so low down. It's such a small thing.
Yeah, you must really sort of appreciate the height of the waves when you're sitting there and because you're rowing, so you are low in the water because you've got to make contact with the water. Yeah.
Yeah, you often feel, especially in big, steep, angry waves, that you feel like you're in the middle of a valley, and then you kind of crest up on top of the wave. And there's times where I remember rowing, and there was these huge waves, like they were maybe 30 foot high, but they were probably about 200-300 meters between the top of each wave. So it was like gentle rolling hills. And there wasn't a breaking wave in sight. There wasn't any white water anywhere. And every now and then you get these rogue waves that are coming from a different direction. It's like they're doing their own detail, having their own happy little existence, going completely in a different direction. And I remember being caught on the top of one of these huge waves with one of these side waves as well. And you feel like you get lifted up and you feel like you're on top of the world. And it's very rare that you can be in a position where everything is below you. You know, even in mountains, you're looking around and the horizons are kind of up and down. It's really it's breathtaking. It really was.
I've got a minute and 40 seconds, so here we go. All right. So why the book, and what are you hoping that people are going to learn from it?
The book came about because someone said I should start writing things down, because I have had a bit of an odd life, I suppose. And what do I want to people get out of it? I'd like people, anyone who's struggling with doubt, anyone who's not been good at anything, because I was rubbish at everything. I wasn't academic. I wasn't sporty. I wasn't even one of the cool naughty kids at school. It's, I hope, a story of hope, and that people will be inspired by it, to believe that they can achieve whatever they set, whatever they dream. it's possible. It genuinely is.
The book is called The Rowing Marine. Listeners, you can order it via our own virtual bookstore. Go to you'll see a picture of Lee in one of the boats. Lee, are you on the social media? Where can people find you online?
Lee Spencer _RM. But if you just Google Rowing Marine, I'll come up. The Rowing Marine, Lee Spencer. You'll find me.
Right, listeners, go forth. If you do nothing else today, go and order that bleeding book. It's not often I talk to somebody in the Tower of London having tea with a beefeater, but there you go. Lee, it's been thank you so much for joining this morning. Absolutely outstanding stuff. Good luck with the book. I'm sure it's going to break all the records and everything. Lee Spencer, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.